I decided to do this investigation because the United States government, the British government, and Joseph Stalin all believed there's a good possibility that Hitler got away.
Go. The body that was wrapped up in that blanket was not him.
That's the problem.
So we are taking evidence collected around the world.
This is report after report.
Government documents, trails, leads, and we are following them to the very end.
We got an escape tunnel.
Oh my God.
In this special episode of Hunting Hitler, 21-year CIA veteran Bob Baer and his team of experts offer a first-hand look inside the definitive investigation into the true fate of Adolf Hitler.
Every piece of evidence we've uncovered as a team has brought us closer and closer to the truth about what happened to Adolf Hitler.
No way. Is that a swastika?
When I started this investigation, it was just a curiosity for me. Seeing the evidence, it's no longer a curiosity. We're looking to put together the last pieces of this puzzle. So what we have to do is keep looking.
Now, along with exclusive previews of the next stage of the investigation,
This was Hitler's room.
Wow.
the team reviews their most explosive evidence
Holy.
I've not had bits fall into place like this. I've been doing this story a long time.
and the strategies and methods they've employed
The single most important thing as an investigator, you can't let a locked door get in your way.
With or without their cooperation, we will get to the truth.
to reveal a behind-the-scenes look into the previous seasons of Hunting Hitler and the anatomy of a manhunt.
Look at this.
This is the final chapter.
I have explosive detected.
We are throwing everything we can at this case, and we will stop at nothing. Holy,
No joke.
we're gonna find out what happened to Adolf Hitler once and for all. This is sounding to me closer than we've been to the truth since we started this.
No question about it.
Nearly 3 years ago, Bob and his team began a multi-phase investigation and are now on the brink of putting an end to one of the greatest mysteries in modern history. Could Adolf Hitler have survived World War II?
The simple narrative for most people, what lets them go to bed at night, is that Hitler died in the bunker. But the problem is, when we look for the evidence, it didn't exist.
On April 30th, 1945, with Soviet troops closing in on Berlin, Hitler and his wife Eva Braun were reported to have committed suicide in his Führer bunker. On May 2nd, Soviet troops stormed Hitler's bunker, contaminating the crime scene, and eventually shipped Hitler's supposed remains back to Moscow.
Stalin says, I want proof, he's dead. They find a cranium with a bullet in it. And the one piece of forensics available to us turns out not to be Hitler's.
We did have an opportunity to examine the cranial vault fragment.
When American scientist Nick Bellantoni conducted a DNA analysis on the skull the Soviets claimed was Hitler's, it was determined that the remains belonged to a woman.
We are now in a position to say we don't have a clue what happened to Hitler. The biggest criminal in modern history, we have no DNA, nothing. Until we actually produce a corpse, it's an open investigation. Every intelligence agency in the world is looking at this. It's incredible. I mean, you have a full-on international manhunt for Adolf Hitler.
The mounting evidence in the case led to a global manhunt that has spanned 3 years, thousands of miles, and created a picture of how Hitler and high-ranking Nazis could have fled Germany.
In the first part of our investigation, we established he could have gotten out of Berlin.
How many of these tunnels exist under Berlin?
Hundreds of kilometers.
Boy, what a perfect escape route.
Not only could he have gotten out of the bunker, he could have made it to Spain, and from there, he could have made his way to Argentina. In the next phase of the investigation, we established he had an infrastructure he could rely on. with resources, money, protection, multiple safe houses, and a massive network of thousands of loyal Nazis set up to escape and disappear.
So Bormann set up a plan for Hitler's escape.
See,
Hitler on his own could have never made it out.
Now, in the upcoming third season, the team zeroes in on Hitler's actual footsteps after World War II, initiating a new investigative approach, asset mapping, the same tactic that intelligence communities all over the world enact as the final step in capturing a high-value target. They'll map every inch of Hitler's network, tracking his top associates and analyzing their link to Hitler's escape.
You've got to follow these guys because you have to figure that when Hitler gets up and leaves, he's going to rely on these people. Your target no longer is Hitler, but the network. Following the trail is following them.
With access to an expanded worldwide file database and an array of cutting-edge technology,
Right there, right there.
Bob Baer and his team look to determine what really happened
That's gotta be it.
to the most reprehensible mass murderer of the 20th century, once and for all.
If you want corroborating evidence, this is it right here.
This is explosive.
Somebody didn't want somebody else to know what was in here.
In any investigation, the first thing you do is build a team. You're picking the best people to do a manhunt.
To begin the investigation, Bob joined forces with UN war crimes investigator John Sensich.
I can't wait to get the team down there and start looking at this.
Joining the hunt were former U.S. Marshals Commander Lenny DePaul,
Germans' fingerprints are all over this place.
investigative journalist Gerard Williams,
People don't like to talk because they have something to hide.
and U.S. Special Forces Tim Kennedy.
I was put on this earth to fight evil. There's nothing else I'm good at. And in all of the manhunts,
Right there.
all the people that I've tracked down, this is by far the hardest.
Then in Season 2, as the investigation expanded, so did the team.
Really cramped in here.
Mike Simpson we brought because he understands moving people through hostile areas.
That's where the trail leads us.
James Holland is a very serious historian. He understands World War II. I can't reconstruct what Spain was like in 1945, but he can. We've got a team in place, and now we go back to the crime scene. If you're going to look for Hitler, you first want to look at the crime scene. One, to establish we have no proof he died there. Number two is, did he have a safe way out of the bunker?
Maybe there really is a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D that we don't know about.
The MO for Hitler, anything he's ever done, was multiple options. We had to look into it. The problem, of course, is we don't have the crime scene anymore. Ideally, we would have liked to have gone to the bunker, but it's plowed under, it's gone. And that's why we went and looked at the next best thing.
Lenny DePaul and Sasha Kyle traveled to Berlin to visit forensic historian and 3D artist Christoph Neubauer,
Christoph, how are you?
who has spent the last decade combing through historical evidence to create the world's most accurate simulation of Hitler's bunker.
So far, there are known 4 main exits out of the bunker. But recently, I found an exit into a new tunnel.
Are you kidding me? That's exit number 5. We've only known about 4. So for us to get our hands on this is unbelievable. That's a game changer. Now Hitler's got another way out.
There were multiple exits out of the bunker he could have taken. And a good planner would also have multiple ways for Hitler to get out of Berlin. Do we really know for certain that he was in the bunker? Maybe we're looking in the wrong place.
In the upcoming third season, the team uncovers 2 additional escape routes out of Berlin.
We've got one going north and one south.
I think this warrants splitting the investigation.
The escape route to the north leads through head of the SS Heinrich Himmler's clandestine headquarters.
This is definitely a perfect cover to hide some high-value target.
And the other route, through southern Germany,
There has to be a bunker or a tunnel complex here.
leads to a Nazi compound, pointing to Hitler being 450 miles away from the Führer bunker when the Soviets took Berlin, despite the historical records stating otherwise.
Holy They have everything that they need to live in these mountains for as long as they want. Adolf Hitler could come here and know that he was safe.
Yeah! Now we're talking.
Recently, I found an exit into a new tunnel.
In Berlin,
Are you kidding me?
Bob and his team discovered a fifth tunnel Hitler could have used to escape the Fuhrer bunker.
If Adolf Hitler decided to take that route out of the Fuhrer bunker, why is he heading in this direction? What's his end game? Where's he going?
Was it feasible to get out of the bunker? 100%. It was doable. Now the question is, once you get out of the bunker, where do you go? If you're going to look for a high-value target, a wanted criminal, you go to the escape route. In counterterrorism, you're looking to intercept that person on the move. The less time Hitler had above ground, the better for him. And if he did surface, it would be risky. So where could you go that you were unnoticed? If you're getting out, you have to thread the needle. The needle is Russian forces. The Red Army is surrounding Berlin. Berlin in May 45, it's surrounded. So he's not going to drive out in a convoy. If I'm planning this escape, I'd do it with a small airplane.
The team uncovered two possible departure points Hitler may have used to fly out of Berlin. First, they uncovered one at Tempelhof Airport.
By George, I believe we've got a tunnel here. It takes me right to the airport.
Later, they found a second route from an improvised airstrip next to the Brandenburg Gate.
Makes sense from this vantage point. You got a makeshift runway right here. Boom, he's on this makeshift runway, and he's gone.
Two potential runways he could have taken out of Berlin. In the spy business, you do not go into a plan without contingencies.
If Hitler's fleeing Berlin,
Where would you go this late in the game?
it's certainly possible that he would have gone to Spain.
There's one man that Hitler could go to for salvation, the leader of Spain, the dictator Franco. Franco was a dyed-in-the-wool fascist, pro-Nazi. He would have been honored to help Hitler out. But he's not going to stay in Spain because he would be cited there. So he's got to get out of Europe. If you're talking about getting him out of Europe, we're talking about U-boats.
At the close of World War II, 45 German U-boats were unaccounted for. Because of their long range and the ability to move across the Atlantic undetected, the team believes that a U-boat would have been the safest way for Nazis to escape Europe. The team discovered a possible port of departure for U-boat submarines in Vigo, Spain.
Were the Nazi criminals using Vigo to escape from Europe?
Without any kind of doubt.
Then, they uncovered another possible exit point from the port of Cadiz.
Sí, bueno, en una foto no se ve muy definido, pero sí se ve cierta silueta de un tipo de submarino en el puerto de Cádiz.
Amazing. Seeing the photograph of the U-boat in the port of Cadiz is huge. From an intelligence standpoint, that tells me that the port was accessible. Now the key is in finding that link from the ground that Adolf Hitler could have used to board that U-boat.
Following a declassified Argentine intelligence report that placed U-boats in the Gulf of Cadiz, and an eyewitness report of a U-boat landing site at the Hotel Reina Cristina.
Well, I'd be interested to see inside it.
Yeah.
The team headed to the hotel in hopes of discovering a place Hitler could have used to board a U-boat undetected.
Oh my goodness.
So the question is, where does that go? ¿Dónde se va? No lo sé. I need to take a look at that. I'm gonna follow this around, see where it goes. Wow. So I've got two big wells, big cisterns, about 2.5 meters across.
At the end of a tunnel beneath the hotel's pool, the team discovered two large wells located just 100 feet from the coast.
That tells me that they could shuttle people from right inside the compound of the hotel right out into the ocean and to a waiting U-boat.
We have shown multiple ways Hitler could have passed through Spain unobserved and got out. Then the question is, where does Hitler go from there?
We have to go find the most likely place for that.
As an investigator, you're always looking at where's the logical place the guy could go, someplace he feels comfortable and safe. and you try to get ahead of him.
In 1945, there was Juan Perón, the president of Argentina.
In 1945, Argentina was ruled by fascist dictator Juan Perón, who provided refuge to thousands of Nazi war criminals after World War II.
In Argentina, there was government support for the Nazis. Argentines were perfectly happy to hide Nazis. We know that. That's just a fact.
Bob and John found evidence that Hitler may have landed a U-boat in the city of San Antonio Oeste.
The question is, where did he go next? He's not going to sit here where he got off the U-boat. We have to assume that he's going into the interior of Argentina, as remote as possible, but livable. He's going to need full facilities, and it's securable. We were looking for a place where he could be protected, a compound meant to defend against an assault.
I want to show you a document that I just came across.
Armed with new evidence, a newly discovered international file led the team to dive deeper into a Nazi compound they'd uncovered previously.
Look at what they've got here. Nazis, upon arriving to Argentina, took refuge in a militarized outpost in Misiones.
You know, when we first went to Misiones, I was picturing it as sort of a hideout, get away from communications.
This could have been a real hideout location for somebody on the run.
But this file is something entirely different.
I'd like to find out on the ground, is there anything that would indicate that it was militarized?
So this rock's gonna be slippery.
Tim Kennedy, accompanied by historical archaeologist Dr. Alasdair Brooks,
Daniel.
traveled to the jungles of Misiones, Argentina, where they met with site director Daniel Chavelzone, who led them to a mysterious new structure less than a mile from the previously discovered buildings.
That is huge. Bigger than I expected. Everything feels powerful, thick, durable, and industrial. This isn't for residential use. This isn't for a family moving in and out. If I were to envision what this use was, this feels like military barracks. This is where you line up bunk beds and put soldiers. It is remarkable finding a military structure in the center of a triple canopy jungle, and frightening to think what still is yet to be discovered.
U.S. Special Forces Tim Kennedy, archaeologist Dr. Alasdair Brooks, and site director Daniel Chavelzone investigate a jungle hideaway in Misiones, Argentina.
That is huge.
Where the discovery of a new building indicates the location could be more than just a safe house.
Hey guys! Have something? Yeah. If you're coming up and you get to this is gonna slow you down long enough for you to die. This is them setting themselves up for success. When I'm looking at a location for military involvement, you have to imagine what it would be like to defend that from an attacking force. Yes. Come up here, check this out. This is the exact spot I would have put a guard shack. This feels like another layer of defense. Misiones was remarkable. Concentric layers of security, observation posts, machine gun positions. You could shoot straight across this. There's no possible way that somebody could get across this body of water alive. It was piece by piece, stacking on top of each other, for me to realize that it was actually a military outpost designed to protect a high-value target.
This was a Nazi compound. We have to complete the picture here. In planning Hitler's escape, you're going to have 4 or 5 alternatives. There's a pattern of redundancies. That's why we took another look at Bariloche.
It was a hotbed for Nazis in Argentina.
Bob's team discovered a Nazi community in Bariloche.
If I'm gonna hide a high-value target, this is perfect.
Nearby, they also discovered the Analco house, a possible safe house for Adolf Hitler.
A German-owned estate, a Nazi, a collapsed bunker. This house has got red flags all over it.
If we could find evidence of security measures, I think it's a major leap in this investigation.
Yeah.
Tim Kennedy, along with investigative journalist Gerard Williams, landed in Bariloche, Argentina, to search the area surrounding the Analco house for fortifications that may have protected Adolf Hitler.
Hi, Dick. Good. Hola. Alan?
They made contact with Alan Juice, a local expert in post-war architecture in the area.
Are there any military structures or a built network?
At the northern tip of this peninsula, there's a tower.
Oh, there it is. Gerard.
The team headed to a tower built by the same architect that designed the Analco house.
The architect that built Adolf Hitler's home
Built this thing.
Positioned on a cliff between the town of Bariloche and Hitler's possible safe house.
This is the Nazis raising a flag saying that we're here and we own the lake.
Alan, are there any other structures like this?
Como esta?
Yeah.
Sí, están en el búnker.
Across the lake, they investigated a possible Nazi bunker.
The size of this, you could base 20, 30 people on it?
At least. And we have Analco over here. The only way to Analco is coming by this or by the tower. So a machine gun here with a machine gun there.
Killing field, complete killing field.
It appears that the same people that designed and built this Misiones applied that blueprint to Bariloche. They have controlled access points. They have concentric layers of security. And that entire blueprint was for the design of protecting and hiding a central figure, Adolf Hitler.
We're on the road to hell.
In season 3,
Gerard, you're not gonna believe what I just found.
the team uncovers another remote safe house
This isn't a country home.
protected by Hitler's network.
There's only one way in and one way out. This is explosive.
The question is, what is the next place that Hitler would go? What sort of evidence do we have? Where could he have gone? If you're on the run, there's very few people you would trust. Every political fugitive that I've been after, that America has been after, goes someplace where they can count on local support. Hitler would have done that.
Our team has uncovered Despina, the spider network. This network was set up to facilitate the exfiltration of Nazi war criminals. How far did this network actually reach?
Let's find out.
Bob and John searched the worldwide database in hopes of discovering the full scope of Despina, a secret international organization dedicated to helping fleeing Nazi war criminals.
Eichmann was in close contact with the underground group Despina. It is believed that he also paid for the international travel of wanted war criminals. Eichmann is a new piece of this puzzle.
Adolf Eichmann was one of Hitler's closest allies and a major organizer of the Holocaust. In 1950, he fled to Buenos Aires, Argentina, where he lived in a modest house and worked for Mercedes-Benz under the alias Ricardo Clement.
One of the most wanted men in the world actually got out using the web. I think we just have to consider that network was also intended for Hitler to use in his escape.
Absolutely.
Following Eichmann's trail, the team uncovered rumors of a possible safe house he used in Tucumán, Argentina.
Tucumán, which is out in the middle of nowhere. Was this safe house set up for Hitler? We had to look at that.
Bob dispatched the team to investigate Eichmann's reported safe house.
El alemán ese estaba con la familia.
Does he know the name of the family?
Recuerda el nombre Klemer. Las rocas se perforaban.
They're making tunnels in the mountains.
Yeah.
You have to question why Adolf Eichmann is in a remote area burrowing tunnels into the side of a mountain. And we had to know the purpose of why they were built.
The team investigated the tunnels in the area of the safe house to see if they could determine why Eichmann had created them.
We might have something right here. Holy. We got a tunnel. I've got a couple of chambers off multiple tunnels, 400 or 500 meters from the entrance, and we still don't even have a way out. Crawling through an incomplete tunnel system that potentially could not be structurally sound. It's dangerous.
We got an opening.
But we needed to know where those tunnels went. Whoa. We have an entrance near the Eichmann house and an exit on the opposite side of the mountain. That's an escape tunnel. You know, I came here to find evidence of infrastructure, and we found it.
These guys built this tunnel for a damn important reason. Clearly, Eichmann intended to make an escape route for Hitler.
This justifies us to continue the mission in this region.
I agree with you. Any place Despina has been is a potential place that Hitler would go to.
Furthering their investigation of Despina's network in Argentina, Gerard Williams traveled to Misiones to speak with the son of Guillermo Zaher, a Nazi soldier who relocated to the area after World War II.
Your father, did he ever mention any senior Nazi that he may have met?
Martin Bormann. Mi papá estaba trabajando para Bormann, ¿viste?
Martin Bormann, Emilio, is meant to be dead. Are you sure your father worked for Martin Bormann in Argentina?
Sí, estaba dead.
Well, let me say it's an extraordinary statement. Historical record has that the Bormann died in Berlin. He never made it out.
During the final days of the war, Martin Bormann, Hitler's right-hand man, was by his side in the Führer bunker. On May 1st, 1945, a day after Hitler's alleged suicide, Bormann and the leader of the Nazi youth attempted to escape Berlin. Bormann was reported killed. However, some experts believe his death was faked.
It doesn't matter whether Bormann got out of Berlin in May of 1945. Any place that Bormann is reported to be is important for our investigation.
That's the bottom line, isn't it? Martin Bormann very well may take us one step closer to Adolf Hitler.
Bob and John searched the worldwide database for evidence that Bormann was operating after the war.
What do we got, Bob?
Martin Bormann was traveling in Latin America under the name of Keller.
In order to learn whether Hitler's most trusted associate escaped to Latin America under an alias.
You ready?
Yeah.
Tim and Gerard made contact with a historian who had spent his career collecting information about Nazis in South America.
Will you tell us everything that you know about what Juan Keller was doing here?
Sí.
Legally, he was known as Juan Keller, but it is said he was a higher position Nazi. He was a person who lived in the shadows.
Did he meet this man himself?
Sí, señor.
He was just a kid when he saw him the first time. He was riding a horse, he had a huge leather jacket, boots, and he could see the bump of a gun sticking out of his back.
Una vez que se asentó acá, compró 3 fundos. 3.
There were people with guns guarding the perimeter.
Armed guards?
Exactly.
So this is what, in the 1950s?
50, sí.
Yes.
Which puts him snap in the timeline here. With all the other information we have, for me it was final confirmation that Martin Bormann had escaped and was running a large Nazi network after the war.
El alemán, por decir, tiene un sentido gregario.
In South America, Bob and his team uncovered evidence of a vast network put in place to facilitate the escape of high-level Nazis.
Holy.
We know they got away. The question is, anytime a high-value target gets up and moves, it's either safety or he's going operational. And I think Hitler, at this point, has gone operational. For me, what's important, when you're looking for somebody on the run, is what were they after? Once they arrived in these safe havens, what was the end game? It's a key question.
We have a declassified document that states here, from now on, German industry must realize that the war cannot be won. German industrialists must, through their exports, prepare themselves to finance the Nazi Party which would be forced to go underground.
They were planning something.
When we look at the evidence, it's clear that a Fourth Reich was planned.
People will listen to this and say, it was never possible for Adolf Hitler to reassemble his team and start the Fourth Reich. It's crazy. But that's the whole point. These people were crazy.
This map came from an engineer in the Nazi Air Force. It depicts a plan to bomb the United States, and more specifically, Manhattan Island.
This is chilling. I mean, they had a plan for mass destruction in the United States.
That's a scary thought.
They had no illusions that they could attack the United States with a conventional military. But if the Nazis were to get weapons of mass destruction, they could strike back at the United States. And this was absolutely key to their strategy.
Let's see what we can find here.
The team made a groundbreaking discovery in the worldwide database, uncovering a file detailing an atomic energy plant in Bariloche, run by former Nazi scientist Dr. Ronald Richter, funded by the president of Argentina, Juan Perón.
Here's a Nazi nuclear scientist invited officially to Argentina to develop a nuclear facility.
This is the Wemul Island, just in front of us, where Richter used to have his project there.
That's incredible. It's hiding in plain sight.
After arriving in Bariloche, Argentina, Tim Kennedy and Gerard Williams, along with local historian Federico Palma, investigated Wemul Island, the location of Dr. Richter's nuclear research facility. Located just 30 miles south of the Analco House, a site the team previously investigated as Hitler's potential safe house.
Here you have.
Oh my God.
What was inside of here?
It was supposed to be the reactor. Richter was planning to make it very big.
How many more of these are there? How many more buildings like this?
10. So this used to be Richter's own laboratory.
Solid cement, 3-4 feet thick.
With view holes.
This is to prevent radiation from escaping. And this is a huge industrial complex. I mean, he has everything that he needs to do, I think, anything that he wants.
And that's scary.
This clearly was a secret nuclear site, as secret as Iraq's or Iran's or anybody else. When you have a nuclear facility run by a Nazi and Hitler could be down the lake, it's starting to tell a story, a bigger story than we started. To think that in Argentina, that he could make nuclear weapons, I think is terrifying. Perón is overthrown in '55. If Hitler made it to Argentina, he would have been obligated to get up and move. Where do they go at that point?
From Bariloche, Chile is right over the mountain range.
When we started looking at Chile, we found Colonia Dignidad. What do we know about this place?
It is a secretive place in the middle of nowhere. It started with this guy right here, Paul Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer was a Nazi corporal during World War II. In 1961, he surfaced in Chile with 300 German followers, where they formed a secretive community in the Andes Mountains known as Colonia Dignidad. Rumors of torture, homicide, and sexual abuse within the compound are still debated to this day. While investigating the former Nazi hideout, Tim Kennedy and Mike Simpson met a previous resident of the colony, Winfried Hempel.
Morning.
Who agreed to guide them in their investigation of the private compound.
Go.
Go on. Don't stop.
Seeing the defensive measures that had been taken at Colonia Dignidad, it was crystal clear to me that this was something much more diabolical than just an agricultural community in the middle of the Andes. Wow.
The team initiated a reconnaissance of the colony's defensive capabilities.
We have right here the watchtower. It's the first line of defense.
Standing right here, I'm able to see absolutely everything. Nothing could go in or out of Colonial Dignidad for 100 miles without somebody seeing it from here.
Second line of defense, you've got infrared trips.
The hell is that? Basically an infrared tripwire. So anything coming through here is going to trip it.
And what you have here at the core are tunnels and bunkers. Good place to hide out of the center of things.
Holy. We have a massive room.
There's so much in here I didn't expect.
Oh my God.
Look at that. Communications, security towers. It was all there. So with Colonia Dignidad, we have to consider if something sinister was going on.
After establishing a complex defensive perimeter at former Nazi colony Colonia Dignidad,
Is this the warehouse?
Yes, here.
the team's guide, Winfried Hempel, led them to a mysterious warehouse located in the heart of the compound.
What went on here?
Bueno, se hacía de todo, o sea, hasta se fabrica armamento.
They built guns here. This is major. This is like a country within a country where they can do anything they want. It was at that moment I knew this was not a simple farm community. You've got layers of security, and now you have manufacturing weapons. They could have been building this Fourth Reich armed and supplied all from one location. It's terrifying. You couldn't write a fictional story like this. Nobody'd believe it.
If this base was being used for the Fourth Reich, we need to know what kind of weapons were being made in this warehouse. And that will tell us what this whole place is really about.
In hopes of determining the type of weapons formerly manufactured at Colonia Dignidad,
Senor Fernandez, Gerard Williams. Nice to meet you.
Gerard Williams met with Hernan Fernandez, a lawyer who was representing former residents in a 20-year-long civil case against the colony's leadership.
What can you tell me about the colony making guns?
Sabemos que Colonia Dignidad tuvo fábricas de armas y hoy sabemos también armas químicas.
There was also chemical weapons, like the sarin gas.
Sarin gas?
Sí.
We knew that Hitler, whether he lived or died, had this vision for the continuation of his empire in Colonial Dignidad. The leads pan out.
Exactly. Look, you could have got sarin, you've got weapons manufacturing, and for all we know, Adolf Hitler. This isn't the Fourth Reich in theory, this is the Fourth Reich in act. I look at this facility in Chile, I think what we're looking at is really the foundations of the Fourth Reich. No doubt in my mind. What's disturbing is what we don't know, and we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg.
Perón essentially was giving Dr. Richter anything he wanted money-wise.
Yeah, blank check.
Through this investigation, we've uncovered so much.
There were a lot of deaths happening around him.
We have changed the historical narrative. It had the ability to make weapons of mass destruction, and we were sort of clueless what they're up to. I think it's pretty damn scary. This was a massive network planning for Hitler's escape and coordinating the Fourth Reich. If we look at these networks, we're going to get a lot closer to the truth.
Now, in Season 3, to deconstruct Hitler's network and zero in on exactly what happened to Hitler after the war, Bob adds a new member of the team to work closely with him in the Situation Room. From 2000 to 2011, Neda Bakos was at the heart of the CIA task force responsible for dismantling the Al-Qaeda network and its biggest targets, Osama bin Laden and Abu Musab al-Zarqawi.
In order to do this investigation, we can't leave any stone unturned. This is a 70-year-old cold case. We're going to have to look for information that has been underground for a long time. This makes it much more challenging, but at the same time, everybody leaves a trail, and I'm confident we'll be able to find the evidence.
Well, this is what I've done throughout my whole career at the CIA, looking at networks to track down high-value terrorists.
Neda Bakos was recommended to me by the chief of station in Baghdad. He said she's one of the best. If you want to hunt for somebody, you go to Neda Bakos. I want her to reconstruct these networks for me. This network will lead us to Hitler.
Three, 2, 1, drop.
Now, 3 years into the greatest cold case in history, Bob Baer and his team of elite investigators embark on the next phase of the investigation.
Tim, hang on.
This is the most dangerous thing that we've done.
Tracing every inch of the Nazi network, their paths of escape.
We know that the Nazis were in South America, but this is at a level that I've never seen before.
And their plans for a Fourth Reich to ultimately reveal the true fate of history's greatest villain.
If Adolf Hitler was going to be here, this would be the place. These walls could talk, Gerard. They'd be saying a lot.
They'd probably be screaming at us.
We are throwing everything we can at this case to find out what happened to Adolf Hitler.
He doesn't want this to be filmed, what he's about to say.
What a find.
And we will get answers, I promise you that.
That's Adolf Hitler with a nuclear weapon.
This goes much deeper than I realized.
We got something. This could lead us to Adolf Hitler.
Are you seeing